Today we're going to be continuing on our lessons about Ye Shen, a Cinderella story from China, as retold by Eileen Louie and illustrated by Ed Young. Today you're going to be doing an activity that involves first filling out a timeline with the events of Ye Shen, and then writing your own unique cultural version of a Cinderella story and acting out that story in Reader's Theater. So first, you're going to be filling out a timeline similar to this one with the events of the story of Ye Shen. There should be at least 6 events included in your timeline, and these events should be major important events from the story, such as when Ye Shen first finds out about her fish having magical powers. So I will come back in a few minutes when you are done with your timeline so we can move on to the next part of your activity. Alright, now that you're done with your timeline, you need to take the events from the story and create your own cultural version of a Cinderella story. So your story needs to include the basic major events from all Cinderella stories, including that your protagonist is an orphan, they make a wish and end up getting some type of magical shoes and beautiful clothing, and they end up going to some type of special event, such as a ball or a festival. For example, since we're in Okeechobee, your protagonist could be a cowgirl or a cowboy, and their special shoes could be boots, and their special event could be going to a rodeo. This would be a different type of culture, which is what I want out of this. So you could choose African American, you could choose Asian Indian, you could choose American Indian, any type of culture that you want, and adjust it into this story. So I'll be back once you're done with your stories. Okay, now that we're done with our stories, you need to change your story and make a script so that you can all use your story in Reader's Theater. So make sure that every person in your group, and everyone should have worked on the story, make sure that every person in your group gets lines for your Reader's Theater. This means that everyone should be saying something in your story, everybody should have a prop, everybody should be involved in your Reader's Theater. If you finish reading your Reader's Theater early, you can always switch up the lines and have other people doing other characters. And remember to be creative with your props. For example, you could use a teddy bear for your special animal, or you could use someone's jacket from class that's extra bright and interesting as your special clothing in your story. So go ahead, write your scripts, and work on your Reader's Theater for the rest of class. Okay, so I chose this activity because it works really well with our standard, and our standard was LAFS.2.RL.1.2. This standard states that students should be able to recount stories, including fables and folktales from diverse cultures, and determine their central message, lesson, or moral. Ye Shen and the activities involved in my center is very good for the standard because the book is from a different culture. It is from China. It is an ancient folktale from China, which makes it fit the standard. And it has a very clear message that students can glean from the story, which is that good people get good things and bad people get bad things. This is for my high-level learners, and this is for quite a few reasons that I chose this series of activities for them. So the high-level learners definitely need more open-ended questions and open-ended writing activities, and this definitely gives them that use of their own unique creativity. It has multiple tasks, which makes them feel like they are accomplishing more. It gives them those steps and those goals to work toward to get to the end of the lesson. And many of these higher-level learners tend to really like working by themselves, so this kind of forces them to cooperate and work together towards a common goal. So the outside sources I use to come up with this activity and support this activity are our course textbook, The Joy of Children's Literature, and this study article that I found online. So starting with the textbook, on pages 50 and 51, I read about writing in the classroom, particularly creative writing. So creative writing in the classroom can be very engaging and motivating for students, and it can improve their comprehension and supports their love of reading. It improves their comprehension because they have to really understand the story in order to build off of the story and write something based off of it. On page 105 of our textbook, I read a bit about reader's theater and how it could improve the intonation, gestures, and expression that students use while reading. It also forces fast readers to slow down a bit, so rather than just reading very quickly off a page, they have to have expression and they have to actually sound like they're holding a conversation. These types of activities are also memorable, fun, and motivating for the students. So the study that I read about, it is up on the page right now. In this study, they gave pre-tests and post-tests to the students on their attitudes in reading, writing, and language lessons. So the study that they did involved giving students 2 lessons per week for 2 weeks of creative writing lessons. So, for example, the students would be asked to write on a subject or a question, such as, what will my life be like when I'm 40? Or what would happen if it started raining sugar water instead of fresh water? These activities got the students used to how creative writing works, and it got them to kind of open up their minds a bit to what creative writing is like and what they can do with their own imaginations. The post-test, which you can see down here, the results, the post-test showed that these students had insignificant increases, but still increases in their attitudes on reading and writing, and that they had significant increases in their attitudes towards language lessons. So this shows that they were more motivated and made them happier to learn about reading, writing, and language, and it just made them more interested in writing as a whole. So this proves that creative writing is good in the classroom, especially to motivate higher level learners. Right, this is my rubric for my center activity. It has 5 categories that are worth 20 points each, and the categories are creating a timeline, grammar, creativity, cooperation, and following instructions. So the creating a timeline one is the one that is mostly involved with the standard, because this is the one that forces students to recount what happens in the story and shows that they're meeting the standard in that particular area. The grammar, creativity, and cooperation are mostly to meet other standards and make this a bit of a more rounded out activity that's not hyper-focused on one particular standard. And the following instructions bit is more important for second graders and lower elementary students because they, in particular, might not be used quite yet to following instructions in the classroom. They're still learning how to pay attention to more detailed instructions, so this helps them get used to the things they're going to be encountering later in the future.